stays right where Allen wants to go. Wants the baseline, fade away. Yeah! He's way too good. He steps around Lou and drilled it. And the Sixers have scored 9 in a row. 7 straight points by Iverson. Looked like he was down the ball. The Sixers by 4.
And welcome to the Sports Skillet Radio Show. We want to thank you for taking time out of your schedule to join us. However, you are finding us on our social media or on the social media of the Heat Ratio. Great shows on both ends of the spectrum there. We've got myself, we've got Mike Nebbia, we've got the coach Shane McGowan join us, and shortly, hopefully, we'll have my brother Jeff join us as well. Lots of great topics to dive into this week. Again, check out sportsskillerradio.com for all our latest sports news show updates. We've got an awesome Twitter feed going on for all the latest sports news. You never know what we'll tweet out on there, so you want to head over to Sports Skillet Radio and check that out as well. Head over to the Heat Ratio. We do a live show from the Steam Pub in PA every Tuesday evening. Great shows are being added to the Heat Ratio Sports Network as we go along, so you want to keep yourself abreast of all the great shows there as well. Lots of great things happening. I am Jay. Like I said, I'm joined this week by Mike Nebbia, the coach Shane McGowan, and shortly by my brother Jeff. Shane, can you let everybody know how they can find you on your social media?
Yeah, you can reach me at mentaledgeperformance.ca as well as mental_edge_performance. It's Super Bowl weekend, gentlemen.
It is finally here after an off week last week. Players get some rest, got to do some media as well. Super Bowl Sunday is finally here. Shane, I'll start with you. Overall, what are your thoughts on the game? We didn't have you on last week, unfortunately, so let me get your thoughts on this game today.
Yeah, well, you know what? It's been for me very fortunate because I've been able to interview all the guys this week down at Super Bowl Media Row and stuff like that. So I had a great conversation with Joe Burrows, Matthew Stafford, the coaches, everybody like that too. So and I posted all on my social media as well. But you know what? Both teams are jacked and ready to go. You know what I mean? They've got a lot to prove. They feel great. Joe is being Joe. He's set to be, setting some impressive records if they happen to pull this one off. Matthew Stafford and the Rams are saying the same thing. I mean, they're set. They're ready. They're in their hometown. Yeah. They're in their home building. They love it. You know what I mean? So you can't ask for anything more. I think it's going to be a very good game. I think there's no question about that. I do, and I will favor the Rams personally myself. I do think the Rams are going to take this one. The biggest thing though too is what I found very interesting is the warm weather down there. I mean, you're sitting at 85 degrees. I mean, come kickoff time, they haven't had weather like that for a Super Bowl in a very long time. That makes it a little bit even more hotter on those sidelines if you've ever played down on a field and things like this. So those guys that are from Cincy that are used to the cold right now, they're getting a bit of a shock in some ways too. So sometimes those little things can wear on you a bit of dehydration and everything like that too. So it's definitely something you got to monitor as the game goes on, and depending on how much a certain team is on that field too. So if defense is really on there an awful lot, they're going to be getting themselves worn out. You know what I mean? So these are the little things that you got to think about when it comes to this game, and it's going to play a factor. But like I said, I expect a bit more of a high scoring game in some ways too. You know what I mean? And it might not be till after halftime. We all know Cincy's a second half team. You know what I mean? Rams are going to come out flying right off the hop. There's no question about that, and do their thing. But Cincy, you can't count them out. They are that second half team. But I also think you're probably going to see a few extra field goals put in this one too.
Yeah, I think so. What are your thoughts, Mike?
Okay. I'm not expecting a shootout in the first half. I can tell you that much. The Rams defense is going to eat Joe Burrow alive. And Cincinnati, like Shane said, like Coach Shane McGowan said, they're more of a second half team. They're going to make it close in the second half, but it's going to come down to if Joe Burrow can pick his way through the Rams defense, which I don't think he's ready for. I think the Rams are going to take it. I'm going to go with the Rams, the points, and I think they will cover the spread. And I will also go with the under.
Here's something that I found out. You may only get this here at Sports Skillet Radio here. One thing I found out early this morning is Mike Hilton. He came over to the Bengals from the Pittsburgh Steelers. He's a slot corner, slot safety. And, you know, here's the thing. He faced Cooper Kupp. Let me bring in my brother Jeff here. Let me add my brother Jeff. Welcome to the stream, Jeff. Jeff, welcome to the stream. Can you hear us? Jeff, can you hear us? Hold on. Jeff may be having some audio issues there. Jeff, can you hear us? Well, we can see Jeff. Jeff, can you hear us? Well, we'll bring Jeff in. I don't think he can hear us currently. But I was talking about Mike Hilton. Mike Hilton faced Cooper Kupp when Hilton was on the Steelers in 2019. And the Steelers just let Hilton take Cooper Kupp, who could have been an MVP this season, one-on-one. They still just put Hilton on Cooper Kupp one-on-one. Kupp went 0 for 4 on targets that day when Mike Hilton had him one-on-one. And that was interesting to me.
But who was the quarterback, though?
That's a good question.
That would be Jared Goff.
That would be Jared Goff, correct.
So I think that just answered your question of 0 for 4 when Jared Goff couldn't throw the ball very good. You know?
But it's still Cooper Kupp. Jeff, can you hear us?
Yes.
Okay. What are your thoughts? We had Mike and Coach give us their thoughts on the game today. What's your thoughts on the game? I
hope the Rams lose. I mean, let's be honest. I hate the Rams. So I hope Cincinnati wins 80-5.
Just 80. Just 80. Okay.
I'll give him 5 points. I'll give him 5 points. Yeah, but I want to see the Rams get embarrassed. I really do.
Gotcha. So do you think there's any way there, if you were just being unbiased here for a second, do you think the Rams will win this game? Or I know you want the Rams to lose, but do you think the Rams will prevail in this game? A lot of talk has been made about the Rams defensive line going up against the Bengals offensive line and the weaknesses of that offensive line on the Cincinnati Bengals.
Well, the Rams are an awfully good team. I mean, let's be honest. But the Bengals, I think, have something going. I mean, let's put it on the table. I mean, they've beaten some great teams along the way here to get to Super Bowl. Quite frankly, the road that if you compare the roads that the Bengals went through to what the Rams have gone through, I think the Rams have had a much easier time. I mean, they went through Tom Brady that retired. You looked at that Tampa Bay team, and that wasn't very competitive. They came back in the game, but then they allowed them to go right down the field at the end. And then you have the 49ers, which was a complete joke with their quarterback who can't throw the ball for nothing. So, I just happen to believe that the Rams have not been the Rams have had, the Rams have had an easier road to get to the Super Bowl than the Bengals. So, I like the Bengals in this game.
Gotcha. I want to let everybody know who's out there watching us. You can chime in on on social media. Leave us your comments of who you think may win today's Super Bowl game. I mentioned Mike Hilton. He covered Cooper Kupp one-on-one, Shane brought up who was the quarterback in 2019 for the Rams. Was Jared Goff, but he didn't allow Cooper Kupp a catch, Jeff. Do you think that could influence the outcome of the game?
No, he's going to get his. Cooper Kupp will get his. Don't worry about it.
Gotcha. Are you worried at all, Jeff, about the quarterback of the Rams? He tends to turn the ball over quite on occasion. Like
Stafford, Stafford will get his points. Obviously, I think it'll be, a close game as all these playoff games have been. But in the end, I think Burrow will probably make, once it plays in, they've got the kicker. Let's be honest. They've got that great kicker. So hasn't missed, and, that could be, one difference in the game, maybe a turnover, by Jared Goff. If he happens, if the 49ers, look, Jared Goff should have lost that game to the 49ers when you look at the fact that the 49ers dropped a cinch interception to end the game, but they didn't do it. And, but Jared Goff, once again, threw the key pick. But, the 49ers didn't catch the ball. So you're just waiting for that. You're just waiting for Goff to make that mistake. And the Bengals can certainly capitalize on it.
Certainly, absolutely. What did you think about that, Shane? What Jeff was saying?
Well, like I said, my opinion is the Rams are going to win this one. I think it has to be, though, just like preached in these last few games of playoffs, is minimize the mistakes. So Stafford needs to make sure that he's in control out there with that. And yes, you're right. Stats show he has thrown more picks at certain times, certain key times. You know what I mean? This is what they have to eliminate. And they also got to make sure they can get the run game going too, against a very strong Cincy defense. You got to give Cincinnati a lot of credit. They have played very, very well defensively to keep themselves in that game as well. And yeah, Joe Burrows has been a magician at certain times out there, and Jamar Chase has seemed to help him out with Mixon. So it's going to be a lot of containment needed to keep Burrows in that pocket. But again, too, is like I said, Rams-wise, they got a lot of offensive powers. They are missing their starting tight end this weekend. Tyler Higbee will be out, so that brings in Blankton, who plays very, very well. But again, he's going to be a bit of a blocker. You know what I mean? So that might help Stafford in some ways, an extra blocker out there and things like this too. But I think a lot of it's going to key on to how does Jalen Ramsey handle a lot of things out there too in that defensive backfield. Him and Weddle. You know what I mean? They got to make sure that they're in control all the time to eliminate T. Higgins and some of these other guys too. But like I said, both teams have made it. Now we're going to see where they go with this. I think a lot of it's going to depend on the coaching too. Are you going to get too fancy out there with some of the play calling, you know what I mean, and make some silly mistakes that way? Or are your coaches actually going to be smart and call a good game that they need to when it comes to the run, when it comes to the pass? I think both teams want to make sure they establish a run game, a 50-50, if anything, you know what I mean? But it's also going to be coming down to play calling too. And you're right. Cincy's kicker has been phenomenal. Rams kicker, he stays in the game too. But I think I put more on the Cincy kicker if you got to go for 55, 52 yarders.
Yeah. Very interesting there. I'm gonna say that the Rams are going to win this game, but I'm gonna be rooting real hard for the Bengals because I would love to see Cincinnati.
See, I'm like Jeff. I don't like the Bengals because they took out my Raiders.
Yeah,
but I still blame the refs. So that's just me. That's just me getting through this year. You know what I mean?
See, you bring up a good point there, Shane. Watching these playoffs so far this year, the refs have kind of put the kept the penalty flags in their hip pocket there. They haven't been throwing a whole lot of penalties in this game. Do you think that will continue on for the Super Bowl, or do you think the flags will start coming out a little bit more?
No, I think they got the wake up call, 3 games ago when that refereeing crew messed up terribly on some, I'll say, some crap calls out there. That yes, they have been a lot better. It's not perfect, but it has been a little bit better. They've picked it up. They've done whatever they had to do. They've made some better calls and things. Plus, give the eye in the sky a little bit of credit too, and saying, whoa, hold on here. You know what I mean? Let's review this one real quick. You know what I mean? And things like that too. So let's put it this way. They've done a better job. I'm hoping that they actually keep the flags in the pocket too. You know what I mean? Let's just play the game. Yeah. Let's just play the game. Do what's got to get done. Yes, you got to review certain things, but let's just play the game and go from there.
Yep. What do you think, Jeff? Keeping the flags in the pocket?
Yeah, I think they'll keep the flags, in the pocket. I mean, that's generally the Super Bowl. You want to let the guys play.
Yep. And what about you, Mike?
I think the flags will be flying here.
Really?
Yeah, Cincinnati is a young team. They're going to be a little undisciplined. We're going to be seeing some false starts. We're going to be seeing some offsides on the defensive end. And that's going to lead to a penalty-filled Super Bowl. I think the most penalty-filled we've seen in a while.
Wow. Okay. Really?
Are you taking a prop on this? Are you betting on this one?
I'm not betting on the penalties. I'm not betting on the number of penalties. I'm betting on the score and who wins.
I'm just hoping this game doesn't go to overtime because I don't want a damn coin toss to decide a victory.
Well, that's one of the prop bets. I'll ask you guys, Jeff. Do you think there will be an overtime in this one?
No.
I'm with you on that one, Mike. Will there be an overtime game?
I would like to see an overtime game to redeem myself from Super Bowl 51, but I don't think there will be.
I don't think there will be. I don't think there will be either. Although we have seen a ton of overtime games recently. I don't think there will be easy either. Another of the prop bets, McPherson, 1.5 made field goals in this one. Jeff, do you go over or under that one?
Over.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think he makes more than 1.5. I think 2 made field goals is an easy one. What do you think, Shane? McPherson, over or under 1.5 made field goals?
Yeah, no, I'll say over. I think he's going to get that in the first half.
I agree with that. And Mike, will it be unanimous? McPherson over 1.5 made field goals.
Over. I'm taking the over on that one.
I'm with you on that one. Another interesting prop bet here. Cam Akers, the Rams running back, 64.5 rushing yards in this one. I know the Rams have a bunch of good wide receivers, so do the Bengals, but Cam Akers, 64.5. Do you go under or over that, Jeff?
I'm going under.
You think it'll be more of a wide receiver game? Think they're going to be more? Think the wide receiver will be more involved in Cam Akers?
Oh yes.
Gotcha. What do you think, Shane? 64.5 for Cam Akers for his rushing yards.
Yeah, it was 58.5 earlier, and now it's gone to 64. If it was 58.5, I would have said over, but 64, I got to go under on that one.
And what do you think, Mike, going under?
I'm going to go over.
Really? You are like a dissenting voice. I like it this week, Mike. Think he'll have more than 64.5. Why do you think that?
Not much more. I'm going to have him at 75.
75? Okay. That's not a whole lot more. Gotcha. I'm going to go under that for Cam Akers, 64.5. I agree with Shane and Jeff. I think this will be more of the Rams throwing the ball around. You've got, of course, Odell Beckham. You've got Cooper Kupp on the Rams. I think they're going to be throwing the ball quite a bit in this one. So, yeah, I agree with you. I also have on here, I'm looking, first touchdown scorer, Odell Beckham. What do you think? Yes or no, Jeff?
I'm gonna say yes.
Yes. Do you think Odell grabs the first touchdown? Shane, with everybody out there, do you think it'll be Odell? Do you think it'll be Jamar Chase? Do you think it'll be Cooper Kupp? Who do you think grabs that first touchdown? Shane?
I'm tossed up between two guys, T. Higgins or Van Jefferson.
Oh, interesting.
So I don't like. I think Odell's going to get a touchdown, but I don't think it's going to be the first one. And this is going to be again, who's going to get this ball first? But if I'm going with the Rams getting this ball and since he being a second half team and stuff, I'm gonna see if a Van Jefferson or if they are there, it's going to be a Blankton, the tight end, the tight end filling it in. I think it's going to be one of those surprisers first that's going to get you that touchdown. Just like how Gronk would get him for Brady. You know what I mean? I think somehow when they get close to that red zone, it's going to be one of those sleeper guys because everyone knows that those others are going to be covered.
Gotcha. What do you think about that, Mike? Who do you think grabs the first touchdown in this one?
I think it'll be Cooper Kupp.
I could definitely see that.
I have it a no on Odell being first touchdown. I have it over on the LA kicker field goals, over on the Cincy kicker field goals, over on Cam Akers.
Gotcha. Here's
kind of like a mini parlay bet going.
Yeah. Here's an interesting one. I'll throw this out to you guys because I like it here. What will happen first? Will it be a touchdown first, or will there be a sack first? And this goes for either, and they left it wide open, so it could be either team. What will we see first, a sack or a touchdown? Jeff, I'll start with you again.
Sack.
I'm with you. I think we see a sack first. Mike, what do you think we see first, a sack or a touchdown?
2 sacks.
I'm with you there. And Shane, sack or a touchdown first?
Yeah, sack.
I'm with you there. I definitely think we see a sack first. We know that the Rams have Cooper Kupp. We know the Bengals have Jamar Chase. Which team will score the longest touchdown of the game? Will it be the Rams or the Bengals? Shane, I'll start with you on this one.
I'll go with the Rams.
I'm with you there. I think it will be the Rams. Mike, who will score the longest touchdown, the Rams or the Bengals?
Rams. It'll be Stafford to Kupp.
Yep. And Jeff, do you think the Bengals will score the longest, or will it be the Rams?
Rams.
Yep. Okay, here we go. This will be telling here. Receptions by Cooper Kupp. Over or under 8.5? Jeff, what do you think? Receptions by Cooper Kupp. Does he make
over?
Over? You think he gets 9, huh? Shane, Cooper Kupp, do you think he can get 9 receptions?
No, I say he gets 10.
Yep, I'm with you there. And Mike, over or under 8.5?
I think he gets 13.
Yep.
Oh, Mike, you're going crazy now.
That's a lot of receptions there, Mike.
There are other guys on the field,
Yeah, this is true. Total sacks in the game for the teams. Over or under 5? Shane, I'll start with you. Do we get over or under 5 in the game? Total number of sacks.
Total between the two teams?
Yep.
Over.
I'm going over too. Jeff?
Over.
Over. And Mike?
Way over.
Yep. I'm with you there.
I'm going 9 sacks.
Oh,
oh, wow, Mike. You were just going crazy in this game. I'm telling you. Okay. And one other one we'll go into. first touchdown of the game will be passing or other? Jeff, we'll start with you.
Other.
Other? Mike, I will start with you. First touchdown of the game will be passing or will it be other?
It'll be a defensive score.
A defensive score. So Mike is going other. And Shane, what do you think? The first touchdown of the game will be passing or other?
I think it's going to be a run. I think it's going to be a rushing touchdown. So I guess it'll be other than.
Other. Yep. I'm
going defensive because Joe Burrow, as good as he is, he's also young and inexperienced. So he will be prone to mistakes. And that one mistake will end up being an interception that'll go for a score.
I could see that, actually. Los Angeles gets, buried deep in their own end. I am going other as well on that one. Anything you guys want to say further about the Super Bowl before I move on to our next topic?
No, I think it's going to be a great game. I'm expecting a good game out of both these teams. So, like I said, I'm glad it's finally here. We can get this done with, right? And see if they can do a back-to-back home wins.
Yep. Just staying with the football topic one more time, and we'll get into the coaching tracker and a lot of that stuff here next week as we move on. But one thing that came out, we have a somewhat local guy. We have Dick Vermeil, former head coach of the Philadelphia Eagles, got selected to the NFL Hall of Fame class this coming year. Big honor, and I think well earned by Dick Vermeil. I probably maybe should have been elected earlier, but Dick Vermeil will be going into the Hall of Fame, Jeff.
Yep, congratulations to Dick Vermeil. It's overdue that he get into the Hall of Fame. He's had, he just had, a great career, taking the Eagles to the Super Bowl, winning a Super Bowl with the Rams. Well deserved of being in the Hall of Fame.
I agree. Shane, Dick Vermeil going into the Hall of Fame this year.
Yeah, no, I was like I said, fortunate to cover this Hall of Fame this week and the honors and everybody like that. And he was very passionate about this. He was pleased and well deserved and everything like that. And without a doubt, an exceptional career that he's had over his time and things too. So well deserved. And you're right, probably should have been a little bit sooner. And I think this is something, and I hate to say this, but this is something the NFL has to look at, man, when it comes to putting a lot of people in the Hall of Fame, is that they lost this year. There was two of them that, unfortunately passed away a lot sooner. You know what I mean? It was Sam Mills and everything like that. And it's tough this way. So I'm hoping that they can change that a little bit sooner. Let's start making some things happen for a lot of these fellas and men and women and stuff that deserve to be in there a lot sooner. And let them appreciate before it gets too late.
I agree. And Mike, any thoughts about Dick Vermeil going into the Hall of Fame?
Well deserved. He brought the Eagles to the Super Bowl. He brought many teams to the Super Bowl. I think he's won one. He won one too. And this is a well-deserved honor for Vermeil. Congratulations.
I agree. Absolutely well earned, well deserved by Dick Vermeil. I'm sure there'll be a lot of Eagle fans at the Hall of Fame ceremony when Vermeil gets elected this year. So well earned by Dick Vermeil. Jeff, we had a big trade go down in the NBA this week.
Really? I didn't know.
Yes, apparently there's a lot of media buzz over this big trade between the Sixers and the Brooklyn Nets. James Harden will be coming to Philadelphia, and Ben Simmons going up the turnpike to the Brooklyn Nets. What are your thoughts on the big trade, Jeff?
Well, everybody focuses on Harden for Simmons, but I think the Sixers gave up a lot when you look at the rest of the deal that was in there for draft picks and such, and certainly giving up your 3-point shooter that you have there. That's going to make a difference. And we'll have to see how Harden plays. in Philadelphia with obviously Embiid. And does he take the ball away from Embiid? Does he take the ball out of Embiid's hands? I mean, there's a lot here that everybody's all giddy, about this, but there are dynamics here that can, that can in fact hurt the Sixers. Is this a great deal for the Sixers on face value? Well, obviously, because you get rid of that troublemaker in Ben Simmons, and you get back, future Hall of Famer in Harden. So it's going to be interesting. But also just remember this, that Harden's contract is coming up. So what is that going to do to the future of the Sixers in terms of their cap and so forth? So because that contract isn't going to be cheap. So is that?
Yep, very true. Yeah, I mean the Nets trade Harden and Paul Millsap to the Sixers for Ben Simmons, Seth Curry, Andre Drummond, and 2 first-round draft picks. What did you think of this trade, Shane?
Well, on paper it looks good. There's no question about that. Then you start breaking it down. Well, first off, you've played without Simmons for how long? So you can play without him. You're not worried about that. Seth Curry's been injured off and on throughout the season too, so you can play without him. Okay. Drummond is I think very good as a backup in many, many ways. You know what I mean? And I mean Brooklyn has like 20 centers, so I don't know why the hell they'd want to take Drummond anyways. You know what I mean? Because that's the crazy part that kind of I was just shaking my head at. But I know that Sixers weren't going to give up Thibault. You know what I mean? They made sure about that and everything, which was great for them. So in the end, I think when you look at this, if Harden, Tobias Harris, and Joe Embiid there can do their thing, and I think Tobias Harris is a big factor in this too. Here's a guy that in some ways, if Harden is sitting out, those guys still played. You know what I mean? They still were able to play and win games, even the way that they are. So I think in some ways it might be beneficial for the Sixers because getting Harden, a healthy Harden, could up your game an awful lot. And then if Harden has to sit, well, you realize you guys can still play without, him. You've proven that, So I do think that the Sixers right now are okay, but will agree with Jeff when it comes to the salary cap next season. What's this going to cost to keep him? What's it going to cost in some other avenues and things like this? And I'll say, I mean, if Harden wants to come play for you, that's also a good sign too. You know what I mean? He didn't fuss about it or anything like that. You know what I mean? He's like, sure, throw me in there. Let me go. So, I mean, in some ways, if you can get a happy Harden, you can make some things happen too. So you got to think about, at least for this year, let's just focus on this year and not look at the long term just yet. See how far you can make it through this. But according to all the analysts and everything like that, they do believe Sixers got the better. They do feel Sixers are going to be a lot more competitive if you can get this Harden back into action and things like that. Tobias stays healthy. Maxey and Thibault keep playing the way they are, and Joel Embiid, hey, he might feel a lot more comfortable too. You know what I mean? He might be able to not get as much eyes and pressure on him because guess what? You gotta watch Harden now too. So there might be a little bit more to his game as well too.
Yeah, I agree with you. It's a little concerning, like long term. It's a little concerning to me about Harden because you look at the past 2 seasons. Harden has bitched and moaned his way, off of the Rockets. He's now bitched and moaned his way off of the Brooklyn Nets.
Yeah, but did he on this one with the Nets though? Because this was something that was brought up earlier this week about that. Yeah. Did he really bitch and complain about get me out of here? Or was it more of the Nets kind of saying, you know what, James has said that he's willing to go and stuff, and we are looking for, because our trio of guys, guess what? It ain't working. 16 games, it ain't working. Nobody likes to play with one another, so somebody's got to go. Even though we got a part-time Irving, we got an injured Durant's your key butter right there. Anyways, we know that Durant's that team. But I mean, if Harden didn't come out and start making a stink, and he even said that, he goes, "I'm not here to focus on me, but I mean, there seems to be an opportunity somewhere else." So I don't know if we could claim this one as bitching and complaining from Harden as much as him having a good rapport with your GM already there in Philly from working together before. You know what I mean? So
true, but there was reports that apparently Harden and Kyrie weren't getting along together.
okay, yeah, but and that's fine. But I mean, again, when you're playing with a part-time player, you know what I mean? Like you're doing everything, and your part-time player is coming out, whatever on certain things, and then he's not putting up the points because sometimes that's what you're relying on too, and saying, listen, man, this is your game, you got to put it up, right? You've had 3-day rest before you got to leave the state to go play somewhere else here. You know what I mean? Like you should be able to do something. Yeah. Has Kyrie been that productive? I mean, really, if you look at his stats, he hasn't been that productive.
Yeah, and or that available, because when when you look at the fact that the three of them only played together for a grand total of 16 games, that's not, that's hardly anything, No. But I do think it makes the Sixers, with getting Harden, it does open things up a little bit on the offensive end. I worry a little bit about the defense. But looking at it from the Nets' perspective, getting Ben Simmons, if they get a motivated Ben Simmons, a guy who's going to come in there, I look at the fact that defense is kind of what the Brooklyn Nets were kind of searching for, and that's always been Ben Simmons' game, is playing defense. One of the best defensive players in the NBA. No question about that. So, if you can get Kyrie on the court and everything, the Nets have the shooters. They just need the length and the defense, maybe that Ben Simmons can provide to them. And if Ben Simmons isn't, is maybe the third member of the team, like you have Seth Curry now on there, you have a bunch of shooters, and then all you're asking Ben Simmons to do is not shoot the ball, but just play defense and distribute the ball. Maybe that works out for the Brooklyn Nets, Jeff.
Well, I think the Nets were just a disaster. I mean, it was comical during the All-Star draft watching Kevin Durant. I mean, that was kind of awkward, to say the least. Him and Charles Barkley, going at it. I mean, that was just one of the, it made me laugh, as hard as anything, seeing those two. Seeing those two. Then you have LeBron on the other side, and he just, right now, he's on, like a 500 team. So that was just an awkward thing all the way around, seeing that All-Star draft, with all three of those. But the Nets are. What could possibly go wrong when you have Kevin Durant in the middle, and you have Kyrie, and now you add this guy, into the mix, right? Yeah. So and you had Simmons. So on one, so you have Kevin Durant in the middle, and he looks at one side, and he has Simmons, and then the other side. This can't get, the Nets can't get any more comical than they already are. So like I said, it's going to be interesting later this month because the Sixers play obviously the Milwaukee Bucks, and that's a team obviously that you're kind of measuring yourself up against. I mean, they're the world champs, and I think the path goes through Milwaukee, and that'll be an interesting game to see if Harden can get out there and play, and you can see how they kind of measure up there in the East. I mean, look, Philly without Harden played very well against Phoenix. They barely lost to them, and that's one of the best teams out west. So I think the Sixers have a pretty good shot here of getting at least to the Eastern Conference, breaking through, and at least getting to the Eastern Conference Finals, and then from there, hey, you take your chances.
Yeah, I agree with you. Mike, what were your thoughts on the trade?
The Nets got a good defensive player in Simmons. Now, Andre Drummond and Seth Curry, they're going to be some key depth pieces going forward for the Brooklyn Nets. And the picks, 2022 first, 2027 first, I'm not sure what the 2027 class is going to look like. We're not sure what that class is going to look like for at least another year or two. But Ben Simmons, what he becomes for the Brooklyn Nets will determine whether or not they make the playoffs, not just this year, but for the next few years going forward. I think the Nets pulled a fleece job on the Sixers here.
Well, that remains to be seen because you bring up a good point there because Harden has not, as of yet, opted into his contract for next year. So that's still on the table for him to do. So he still hasn't opted in. So that's still that $47.3 million player option for next season. Harden, I believe, has said he's probably going to opt in there. I'm leaning towards opting in there or what have you. That's going to be key because Harden, having not opted into there, Philadelphia having given up Ben, Seth, Andre Drummond, the first-round picks, etc. If he doesn't opt into that player option, he could be a free agent at the end of the season. I mean, I think he will. I think that was kind of one of the things that the Sixers talked to him about doing. I don't think the Sixers would have made this trade without being confident that Harden would opt into his player option and that he would be around for next season as well. But he hasn't opted in there. And Jeff, I'll ask you, does Harden has not been a very good playoff player throughout his career. Does that concern you? Would that concern you at all going into this deal? He hasn't been that guy that you can lean on in the playoffs that will come up big. He's been to a playoff quite a few times and hasn't been that prolific player in the playoffs. Would that be a concern for you, Jeff?
Well, I think Coach has said it before, said it several times. Money is a great motivator. And, I think in this case, Harden's going to show up, if for nothing else than to pad his pockets, if you know what I mean. So, listening to Shane over the last many years, that's something that happens with these kind of athletes is when the paycheck is on the line, these guys tend to, put that extra motivation in there and they tend to show up and they tend to play, that extra hard. So, with all that on the line and everything, and with some of the criticism going on with Harden, I think Harden, you're going to see the best of Harden in this case, in this situation.
Yeah, I kind of think so, and I'm hoping, maybe Harden isn't.
Hey, let's put it this way: last year, what did Ben Simmons do? Nothing. I'll take Harden over what Ben Simmons anytime on that one. And your Sixers probably would have kept going further. Okay?
Yeah.
So let's be honest here. I mean, you get into the playoffs, anything can happen. Yes, now money's playing even more of a factor. But you got a guy in James Harden that's saying, give me the ball, I'll shoot it. I got no problems, I'll shoot it. I may not get it in, but that's where you guys pick up that rebound and go. What did Ben do? I don't want this. Don't give it to me. It's like a hot potato. Don't give it to me. Don't give it to me. You know what I mean?
Yep.
So you're going to tell me you're not going to take Harden over Simmons in these playoffs. Look at Simmons hasn't even stepped on the court. His defense is going to suck right now as soon as he gets out there. These guys that have been playing all year are going to run circles around him, dunk over him, and he is going to get fouled and fouls and fouls at the beginning. And you're going to hope, well, we just got to break him in. We got to break him in and stuff like that. It ain't going to happen. It ain't going to work. Not this season. This is a write-off for Simmons. It's just you're on a new team, etc. Harden, you want going into that playoffs and stuff, especially the Sixers who already have MB, Harris, and the rest of those other guys, Thibault and them that can play good defense. No question about that. But can also get the rebounds too. So if Harden does start missing, all right, as an example, those guys are there to pick that ball up and also do some damage too. So I would take the advantage Sixers in this case.
Yep. We also have a poll up. The Sixers are going to be playing the Brooklyn Nets in Philly on March 10th. Now, when Ben Simmons was in Philadelphia, throughout this saga that we've been on, Ben Simmons has had some thin skin, hasn't wanted to play for the Sixers.
So is it how many eggs will be thrown at him?
Well, no, what it is will Ben Simmons take to the court when Brooklyn comes into Philly on March 10th? We have 4 options that you could choose from. So head over, vote on our social media. You can also bring it up on sportsskilletradio.com. The options are yes, Ben Simmons will play. No, he'll opt out for load management. They'll say, we have to bench him because he played too many games in a row or whatever. He needs a break. It'll be load management, so he won't play because of that. No, he'll have an injury of some sort, be it soft tissue, whatever, pulled muscle, whatever you want. Or no, he won't play because of some other issue that will come up. So, Jeff, what do you think? Out of those 4 options, what do you think? Will Ben Simmons play on March 10th in Philly?
Because it's March 10th, because it's Philly, yes, he will play.
He will play. He will take to the court for the Brooklyn Nets. Mike,
I think he plays. I think he plays, and he has a good performance.
All right. And Shane, what do you think?
He'll totally stick it to the Philly crowd. I'm predicting at least 20 points, 10 boards, and 3 blocks.
Mike, he doesn't shoot. Ben Simmons doesn't shoot. How can you say 20 points? He doesn't shoot.
I'm being generous.
Oh, if I'm being generous with Ben Simmons, I'll say 10. I don't know if Ben Simmons had a 20-point. Yeah, I had to look it up. Shane, what do you think?
Well,
will Ben Simmons be on the court and face the Philly faithful?
They won't have Kyrie playing, right?
Well,
it's an away game.
I think it's an away game, so I think
Kyrie
does play.
So Kyrie can play. Kyrie can play in Philly.
Yeah,
I believe Kyrie can play in Philly. Yep.
Okay, then I'm gonna say no. I'm gonna say Ben is too scared for this first one. I think they're gonna find something to say, but I don't think deep down he wants to play in Philly because again he gets humiliated.
Yep.
Right. No.
Yeah. That's one of the things why I think he hasn't, he's deferred all his salary to this point. The Sixers have been fining him. He hasn't want to
he's $20 million in fines or something crazy.
Yeah. So he hasn't even wanted to sit on the bench or anything like that. So I'm with you, Shane. I don't think he plays. I think it's whether it's load management, whether he had some sort of injury or something else. I don't think he plays. I think he's done with Philadelphia. I think they maybe do the load management thing. I think, they play him a bunch of games before that and say he's tired. We're managing his load. He has to sit this one out. I think load management might be the way that they go. And just to bring everybody up to speed on the way the poll is going, so far we've got 50% that say yes, he will play. Then we've got 19.2% of the vote so far are saying no, it'll be load management or no other. And then coming in third is no injury, 11.5%. So there we go with our sports Skillet poll. Jeff, Shane, Mike, anything else you want to say about the Ben Simmons trade for James Harden before I move on real quick?
No, not really.
Nope. Okay. Moving on real quick. The other thing that came out this week, Rob Manfred made it official. Pitchers will, once they get this whole debacle solved with the owners and the players union, and they get back to playing baseball. Who knows when that's going to be? But what he said was that pitchers will no longer bat in the National League. The DH is here. It's coming. It's not going anywhere. The designated hitter will be part of the National League from this point on going forward. Jeff, your thoughts on the DH coming to the National League?
Well, I've been saying this for a couple of years. The National League has had basically a glorified DH because you only have pitchers going 4 or 5 innings anymore. You have relievers starting games. So, I mean, pitchers get one at bat at most, in games anymore anyway. So, you're basically bringing a pinch hitter. So now you can gear your teams towards actually, having, a legitimate hitter now if you want to and pay a legitimate DH in the National League. That's really the difference. But, otherwise, the game has changed over the last few years to where the National League has done that. It'll be nice for the American League now that they don't have to worry about, we're having, pitcher bat if they really have to, when pitcher's never bad in the American League. So finally, you've brought the two leagues into uniform rules, which will be a nice thing. But in reality, I'm just growing ever more disgusted with baseball each and every day. It's with this whole lockout and so forth. I mean, it's patently ridiculous what's going on here between the owners and the players not negotiating, and the owners throwing stuff out, and the players rejecting it out of hand. It's just right now it's billionaires fighting millionaires, and it's it just hurts the fans, and it not only does it hurt the fans, but it hurts everyone. According to spring training, because now you're going to have spring training, delayed until whenever. You may not even have a season. We've talked about. I talked about it, almost a year ago at this time, that I just didn't think there would be a season. I thought that they would actually cancel this season outright because, I didn't think that these guys could come together. That this was going to be, an Armageddon, and they're both going to dig into the sand. And look, once this thing gets to a certain point and you start losing games, it's going to get personal. I mean, once it gets personal to both sides, then they're going to dig. Then they're going to way dig in, and it's going to get ugly. Not that it's not ugly now, but it's going to get even more ugly. And I just, I'm sorry to say, I think it's going to be a difficult thing to see baseball coming back for this season.
Yep. What do you think, Mike? DH coming to the National League.
I knew this was coming eventually. But as a Mets fan, I've love to see guys like DeGrom and Syndergaard help their own causes. And we've seen it in the American League too with Shohei Ohtani. Pitchers helping their own causes with the swing of the bats. We can still see that with pitchers being called in as a DH. And I think there are other teams that have pitchers that can hit. And again, we can still see that. But this is going to open the floodgates once the lockout clears, if it clears this season at all, for teams to sign players to be their DH, like Schwarber or Chris Bryant, or I don't know who else.
Yep.
Schwarber and Chris Bryant are the two that have come to mind for me in terms of who teams can sign to fill that universal DH role. Man, I'm gonna miss DeGrom helping his own cause.
Yep. And Shane, your thoughts on the DH coming to the National League?
No, we had talked about this a couple of years ago and said that, it's going to happen. You knew all this was going to transpire, but I'm with Jeff when it comes to this whole contract and everything like this deals. I mean, we keep bringing this up. This sport is sinking and sinking fast. You know what I mean? In so many ways. I mean, you're not only is it going to get bitter, it's going to get very nasty in so many ways of the name calling, they don't want to cooperate because they're this, and these guys don't want to pay because they're that, and so on and so on. And it's going to get very, very ugly. And sometimes you look at it and saying, can we actually rebound from that? Can we actually play, a season here amongst all this animosity amongst each other in this way? And then the bonding. And then the other thing, too, you're also going to get is the friction amongst the players. Because if you got some that want to agree with certain things and others that are more dominant saying, no, we don't, right? That's going to cause even more friction amongst the players themselves, and on a team that doesn't have, 50, 60 guys that you can hide from, you're in a locker room together. You're like looking, hey, you voted for this. You're an idiot. You know what I mean? So you're going to get some in-house fighting too amongst some of this stuff as well. So like I said, how it works out is not going to be pretty. if it even works out, which I'm going to favor in saying I don't think so, you're then also going to start losing in so many ways fan base going to other sports. So the money that you're losing out of those pockets, right? The TV revenue and everything like this, but also others wanting to watch soccer, others wanting to watch lacrosse, others wanting to watch other sports like that because you guys can't get your heads out of your asses and start doing the deals properly. You know what I mean? Because your egos, like you said, billionaires versus millionaires. And even that now is becoming close to billionaires versus billionaires because that's how much they've played these players over the time, you know? So like I said, I don't see it working out. And I'm just saying it's going to be very nasty as they do start going.
Yep.
I've been saying this since the beginning of the lockout. We are pushing NHL 2004-05 lockout territory. Once we start losing games, this is going to get very ugly. And I have the point of no return for the 2022 season at 4th of July weekend. If we get the 4th of July weekend and there's still no deal, just outright cancel the season.
I think it could be even earlier than that, Mike. And like I said, I agree with Shane and Jeff here. I'm saying that this thing is, as it goes on, we're already going to see spring training move back because the two sides are not able to come to any type of an agreement. We're already seeing that, and when you get. And now you're affecting your fan base because one of the things that the baseball fan base looks forward to each and every year is, believe it or not, is spring training because people in the Northeast and other climates, the Midwest and so
they
forth.
They plan their spring training trips like 2-3 months in advance. And I'm used to saying, it's baseball time. It's baseball season tweets.
Exactly.
Immediately following the Super Bowl. Now I'm not going to see them.
They're going to be watching the USFL now. That's what they're going to be doing.
Yep.
That's how sad it's getting. Is that?
Exactly.
Here's the thing. Look, here's the thing. Never mind, all this bickering about the CBA and so forth. The problems on the field are just as disastrous as what's going on off the field. I mean, that's also the problem with baseball because baseball has stagnated into this sport of either a fly strikeout or a home run. There's no stolen bases anymore. You have the goddamn shits that are going on in base. You have the goddamn shits going on. So I think baseball is in a world of hurt from a number of facets, not just the CBA, and that hurts baseball as much as anything. So you're gonna have fans flocking away from the sport in droves. I mean that's what's going to happen. So
the
main problem is Rob Manfred. He is a man fraud.
It's not Manfred because Mike. All Manfred is the same as any other of the commissioners in hockey and football and basketball. He's basically a mouthpiece for the owners. So you want to put it on. You got to put it on the ownership. Because that's what Manfred is the mouthpiece for the owners. So all he's doing is relaying the consensus of the ownership. He can kind of nudge things a little bit, but basically he's an employee of the owners. But like I said, but when you start affecting people's pocketbook and their enjoyment, because now with spring training being pushed back and there's no telling when it's going to begin, now all of a sudden those people
supposed to begin tomorrow, actually.
Yeah. And now you have those people who have made airline reservations, hotel reservations, hooking up with their friends. Maybe they still avail themselves of that opportunity to go down to Florida, but now they know
maybe they have family down in Florida.
Maybe, but now they know that, hey, what we intended to do, base our vacation on going to the spring training games, we're not going to be able to do. We got to find something else. Now you affect their enjoyment.
It's billionaires versus billionaires.
Now you affect their pocketbook and their enjoyment. You're going to turn them off. You're going to have them angry and upset, and we'll see what they ultimately end up doing. But
Here's what I think the fans should be doing. They should be suing the MLB $1 million a day until the lockout is resolved.
Can't do it, Mike. Can't do it. Nice
Then
concept.
once the
Can't do
lockout is
it.
resolved, boycott the games.
Maybe boycotting the games.
What are you gonna? What are you suing them for? Because you got season tickets.
Yeah. Can't boycotting the games? Hey, if enough people get turned off and don't go to game. I mean, I know people have told me over the course of time that the last lockout that they had turned them off, and they never 94, and they never went back to
like
baseball
2 months
again.
old when that lockout began.
Yeah, even if they do come back, do you know how much those tickets are going to go up because you've lost time anyways? Ticket prices are going to be going up. And then you got to ask yourself and say, why am I supporting this? You know what I mean? I can watch it on TV for Pete's sakes. Yeah. Maybe I'll take in the odd game here or there if I'm really wanting to and stuff like that. But really, your ticket prices are going to be jacked up in certain parts of the of the country and stuff like that too, where teams are really going to be hurting even more.
Well, that, and you're going to hear the apology tour, I think, will be coming too, from the players and the owners, bending over backwards for the fans with giveaways and
but it's write-offs though. You give something away, you're writing it off anyways.
Yeah. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. I'm just saying that there's going to be that huge apology.
But here's the difference. Here's the difference between this type of a walkout, stoppage, everything like that, and way back is that in this day and age, people don't put up with it anymore. Yep. People are saying, screw it. You know what I mean? I've got other things, and especially economy-wise, I can put my money somewhere else and enjoy instead of dealing with this garbage.
Yeah, there are minor league parks all over the country.
Yep.
You can just go to one of those. You can just go to the Trenton Thunder, for Pete's sake.
Yeah, you can. There's other options that people have, and like I said,
and I can sense that the Trenton Thunder are going to have sellout after sellout because of this MLB lockout madness.
Maybe. I don't know if Thunder gets too many sellouts, but I think they'll be. If they do have a minor league season, which I don't know.
Have a minor league season. Minor league baseball isn't as affected by MLB lockouts as the MLB is.
But I do agree. I do agree with you guys that I do think people will find other forms of entertainment, whether it be the NBA playoffs, the hockey playoffs, the XFL that's coming back this year.
XFL is not coming back until 2023.
USFL is.
USFL, that's what it is. Yep. We'll have spring football this year, so I do think there's going to be other ways that people will jump into other entertainment options, and baseball is going to have their work cut out for them to try and get their fans back. They really are.
When and if they get this lockout resolved, they should probably take a page out of the NHL playbook after the 04-05 lockout, what they did to get fans back.
I just don't know if they will be able to. That's the thing. This may be the I mean, they'll get people into the stadium, no doubt. I have no doubts about that, but they're going to have to work their tails off to really get people back. I'll throw it out there now, guys. Anything that we missed, Jeff, Shane, Mike?
Talking to Shane before we leave them. We have the Olympics going on, obviously, and a couple of big events there going on. Michaela Saffron. Shane. You start out the way she did, it's obviously she did not finish either of her first two races. High expectations for her. After that second one, you could see her sitting there for about 20 minutes, kind of contemplating mentally what was going on. But for her to come back and at least finish finish the race in her third race. And she has a couple more, obviously, coming up here before it's all over. It's going to, she said it best. Hey, you got to deal with it. I mean, that's what, that's what you got to do when it comes to losing. I think she handled it very well, actually. I really do. In terms of getting back on the horse and getting back out there and finishing the race. On the other side, you had the GOAT Shaun White, obviously leaving his sport to it's a shame he didn't medal. He gave it his best shot there. He obviously got into the finals. He qualified, but wasn't able to get in there in this final Olympics. But what heck of a run for Shaun White! And like I said, on the front end, you have Michaela doing what she did.
Yep, no question about that. With Michaela, let's start there. Unfortunate, but you're right. In that time and in a moment, everything like that, she had enough in her to say, "That's it. I still got to finish this off." And I'll take my lumps, I'll take my losses, but I got to move on because guess what? I got still other stuff to happen. You know what I mean? She got to relook at herself a little bit, refocus, and get herself back on track for her next upcoming events that she's going to try to do and everything like that. So good for her. It shows the competitiveness in that athlete too. You know what I mean? I'm not a quitter. I'm not going to fail like this. You know what I mean? I lost. Fine. I accept it. I got to move on. That's how you got to play this. And she knows that. You know what I mean? You work 4 years, 5 years almost to get to the Winter Olympics type of thing. To have that one moment where it's just a disaster and things like that, they all understand that it can happen. Everybody that goes there understands it can happen. You can be overwhelmed, whatever might happen there. But the fact that she took it and said, I still got other things that I can do that I got coming up and I'm going to do them. Good for her. For Shaun White, you know what I mean? You're right. The guy's a pioneer. There's no question about that. He was a pioneer of certain things in this way. I will say this, that there has been a lot of controversy on the judging and certain things like this year there on certain, even gold medalists have said the same thing. The judging has not been up to par the way it should be. So I'm not saying that's, why he didn't medal and stuff like that, but I'm just saying it's part of certain things. And I mean, good for him for everything that he did do, has done. And some way, I'm sure we'll be back in the Olympics with commentating or something like this too, as they move forward, because he does know the game. He does know his sport, and maybe he can groom others, in coaching them too. You don't know. I mean, he's still a young fella in many ways, right? So, I mean, you can do some things for them and stuff like that, but I know he did get engaged too and everything. So there is a lot of stuff going to be happening in his life, but kudos to him for a well-deserved pioneer that he was in this sport and everything as he moves forward.
Yep. Mike, anything going on with NASCAR this week?
We're going to be having pole qualifying for the Daytona 500 on Wednesday. Then the duels at Daytona to set the rest of the field on Thursday. And then next Sunday is the Daytona 500. But nothing to wrap up this week. Next week is when it all breaks loose.
Gotcha. Any final words, Mike, Jeff, Shane?
Go Bengals.
There you go. Shane, can you let everybody know how they can find you on your social media?
Yeah, you can reach me at mentaledgeperformance.ca as well as mental_edge_performance. Rams all the way, you know what I mean? And it's going to be a beautiful sunny day there in SoFi, Like I said, I'm enjoying this. I'm going to love this game.
Oh, screw their sunny weather out there. Screw it.
Party time.
Jeff, you're being biased again.
There you go. All right. I want to encourage everybody to check out sportsskilletradio.com. All the latest sports news. We got a live Twitter feed. You never know what we'll be tweeting out. So you want to head over there. We also got some good work by Mike Nevia up on the site as well. Head over there. It's a great site. Also, check out the Heat Ratio. We got great shows going on there. We're expanding our network there. We do a live show from the Steam Pub in PA every Tuesday evening. Lots of big things popping. Heat Ratio, Sports Skillet. Excellent stuff going on. So check out both of them. We appreciate you tuning in. And find out, remember, like, follow, and share. Get word out. Have a great week. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everyone. And we will see you back here again next week.